Good morning, Goa, and welcome to your channel, Goa News Daily. It's a beautiful morning in Goa, today on 9th Feb 2026. Let's get straight to the headlines.
Here's what we're covering for you today. We'll be looking at the Mahadei water dispute being debated in Parliament, a concerning rise in online scams hitting tourists, the pressure on Goa's groundwater, harassment on our beaches, and health complaints from residents in Mormugao.
First up, let's head to the capital, where two key Goan issues were brought to the national stage.
The Mahadei River dispute is back in the spotlight. Now, on one hand, Karnataka wants to divert water, arguing it's essential for their drought-prone regions. But on the other, Goa is strongly opposing the move, pointing to the potential damage to our sensitive ecosystems and the local livelihoods that really depend on that river. Also making news from Parliament, BJP MP Sudhanand Shettanavade has flagged a sharp increase in online scams targeting tourists. We're talking about fake hotel booking sites, phony homestay listings, you name it. Goa police are on it, and they've already blocked hundreds of these fraudulent sites. But it's an ongoing battle.
Okay, moving on. From our rivers to the water beneath our feet, a serious crisis is developing.
Goa is seeing a huge boom in construction, and all those new housing projects, especially the ones with swimming pools, are putting an incredible amount of pressure on our state's groundwater. These underground reserves are dwindling, and it's creating some real problems, especially in rural areas.
It's gotten to the point where villagers are finding it difficult to get clean drinking water, with some having to rely entirely on water tankers. This has led to strong calls for a new policy that would force all new projects to have things like water recycling and rainwater harvesting systems built in.
Now, let's turn to some recent incidents that impact the safety and quality of life right here in Goa. It's a question that keeps coming up. A few recent events have once again put a spotlight on the safety of our visitors, especially women, on Goa's famous beaches. Following a rise in complaints about harassment from foreign women, the Kalangut police have taken action. Two tourists from Tamil Nadu were recently arrested after they allegedly photographed foreign women on Baga Beach without their permission. Meanwhile, over in Mormugao, a different kind of issue is brewing. Residents there are making their stance clear. Their health should not be sacrificed for the sake of business. They're protesting a foul smell that they say comes from low-quality coal being handled at the port. People are reporting breathing difficulties, and it's hitting children and seniors the hardest. Because of this, they're demanding a complete stop to all coal operations. And that's the news for now. Let's do a quick recap of today's top stories from around Goa. So we had the Mahadei dispute and tourist scams getting attention in Parliament. We covered the growing water crisis threatening our groundwater supply. We saw police taking action on beach harassment complaints. And finally, the health concerns of Mormugao residents over coal odor. To keep up with all these developing stories and more, make sure you're subscribed to us here at Goa News Daily. You know, a lot of people who watch our reports actually aren't subscribed. Please don't miss out on important updates. If you find these daily reports valuable, do us a favor and subscribe to Goa News Daily. It's just one free click for you, but honestly, it's a huge encouragement for our team to keep bringing you this content.
Go ahead and subscribe so our updates come straight to your feed.
Here are today's top stories from right across the state.
First up, we're taking a look at state and environment.
A brand new State of the Environment report has just been released, and folks, it's issuing a pretty stark warning about how climate change is affecting us right here in Goa.
Get this, the report points out that Goa's average annual temperature has already climbed by more than 1 degree Celsius since the early 1900s. And what's really concerning is that this is happening faster than the national average.
And it's not just the heat. We're seeing a huge shift in our rainfall patterns. While moderate rainfall is actually decreasing, the number of days with heavy, and I mean exceptionally heavy rain, has more than doubled. This is leading directly to more floods, soil erosion, and waterlogging, which, as you know, affects everything from our farms to our homes.
Now, staying on the topic of the environment, the citizens' movement Enough is Enough has just gotten some pretty significant support.
That's right. Former Supreme Court Justice Abe Oka has officially thrown his support behind the campaign. He's joining the movement, which is led by former Chief Justice Ferdinand Rebello, in its call for an end to environmental destruction in Goa.
Okay, let's shift gears now and look at what's happening in economy and development.
The Goa Chamber of Commerce and Industries, or GCCI, is making an appeal to banks on behalf of borrowers who've been hit hard by the mining situation.
The chamber is asking banks to take a more lenient approach, especially since mining operations are finally starting to pick up again. They're really hoping for some financial flexibility for all those folks who were impacted.
Meanwhile, over in Tivim and Benalim, villagers are speaking up. They're raising some serious concerns about all the new construction projects that are popping up. Their main point? They're urging authorities to really consider the village's carrying capacity before greenlighting more projects. They say the basic infrastructure, water, electricity, is already stretched thin and just can't support more large housing developments. And finally, let's wrap up with some stories from our local communities in our Community Watch segment.
Here's some really positive news. The All India Institute of Ayurveda, right here in Goa, has a pretty unique program that's helping people tackle addiction and other mental health challenges.
It's been running for 3 years now, and what they do is blend traditional Ayurveda with modern psychiatry, yoga, and diet. It's a really holistic approach to provide integrated care for those struggling with alcohol and tobacco dependence. Now to some very sad news from a Santa Cruz Gram Sabha meeting that took place on Sunday.
An elderly resident, 70-year-old Olavio Fernandez, tragically passed away after suffering a massive heart attack during the meeting. Reports say his collapse happened right after a discussion about what he felt were exorbitant flat transfer fees. Mr. Fernandez was a retired deputy director of the Agriculture Department and a known heart patient.
We've got a packed rundown for you today. We'll start in South Goa with some heated debates over new development. Then, we're heading north to look at some pressing infrastructure and safety issues. And finally, we'll cover civic concerns being raised by citizens all across the state.
All right, let's kick things off in South Goa, where several village Gram Sabhas on Sunday became ground zero for some really important conversations about planning and the environment.
First up, Daverlim. Residents there came together at a village meeting and made their voices heard loud and clear, taking a firm stand against a controversial government survey.
Here you can see the meeting in full swing. The whole thing was about this proposed Naksha survey. Now, villagers voiced some strong suspicions about its true purpose, really fearing it was just a sneaky way to benefit real estate interests at their expense.
And this was no small thing. The rejection was unanimous. Residents flat out called it a backdoor entry for the real estate lobby and were seriously worried it would lead to the destruction of their local resources. Their fears were pretty much confirmed when officials couldn't give them straight answers on how it would affect local building rules.
And that same theme of protecting the local character of a village continues right next door in Benalim. The Gram Sabha there passed a major resolution, basically drawing a line in the sand for any future development.
The whole debate really came down to a simple question. How much more can our village handle? Residents argued that their basic infrastructure, we're talking water, power, waste management, is already stretched thin and just can't take on more large-scale construction.
So they took action. They passed a resolution to oppose any project with a floor area ratio, or FAR, above 60. And their reasoning is crystal clear. They're already dealing with water scarcity, power fluctuations, and garbage issues. They're demanding a proper study on the village's capacity before anything else gets approved.
And to round out our reports from South Goa, we're heading to Lolium Polum. Here, the focus was all about protecting the local environment, specifically its unique plateau lands.
The council here took a very firm environmental stand. They reaffirmed a resolution from 2016 to conserve their plateau. They also objected to a proposed new statue on a site they argue is ecologically sensitive. And on top of that, they raised concerns about errors in new coastal zone maps, demanding more time for public review.
Okay, let's shift gears now and travel up to North Goa. Here, we're looking at some infrastructure issues that are having a direct impact on the daily safety of residents.
First stop, the Surigao-Porium Road, where traffic from mining trucks is creating some seriously dangerous conditions for anyone who has to travel on it.
And this picture says it all, doesn't it? All that heavy mud spilling from the trucks, mixed with water, has turned this road into a slushy, hazardous mess. You can just imagine how treacherous that is for anyone on a two-wheeler.
Residents say they've complained time and time again, but nothing has been done. They also allege that overloaded trucks are making things even worse. So their demand is simple. If safety and environmental rules aren't met, the mining operations need to be stopped.
Staying in the north, let's head over to Seolium.
Some recently completed road work there has, believe it or not, left behind some pretty serious safety gaps.
Now, have a look at this. What's interesting here is what's missing. You can see the new fluorescent edge lines have been painted, which is good, but the complete absence of a central dividing line on this busy road is a major concern for drivers.
And it's not just the missing center line. There isn't a single zebra crossing for the over 1,000 students at the nearby school. To make matters worse, an untarred patch of road has become another accident hotspot. Residents are demanding that authorities come back and finish the job properly.
And for our final section today, let's look at a few specific civic problems reported by citizens across the state. These are the everyday issues that are causing some major frustration.
First, we're in Santa Cruz. For 5 years, that's right, 5 years, an illegal parking issue has been choking local businesses, and there's still no solution in sight.
This quote here from local shop owner Michael Fernandez really sums up the frustration. He says, "Public roads cannot be allowed to remain encroached upon indefinitely, especially when clear directives for action already exist. It seems the orders are there, but the action isn't."
And it's a similar story over in Vasco, where the daily battle for a parking spot is being made even tougher by abandoned vehicles just left to rust on the streets.
I mean, a picture's worth 1,000 words, right?
This old, scrapped two-wheeler is taking up a valuable spot. That just creates a domino effect, forcing other drivers to double park and adding to the gridlock.
And for our final report today, we go to Sankali, the Chief Minister's own constituency, where a public bus stop is reportedly on the verge of collapsing.
As you can clearly see from this photo, the bus stop near Sankali Bahavan is in a really dangerous state. Residents are urging authorities to take immediate action, either repair it or demolish it before a real tragedy occurs.
That's all the time we have for this segment. Stay tuned as our coverage will continue on the next part.
Here's what's on our radar today. We've got a major promise from the Chief Minister to traditional fishermen in Benalium. We're also covering a truly tragic story from a Santa Cruz Gram Sabha, a huge update in the old Goa Bangalow controversy, and a big appeal from the GCCI concerning the state's mining sector. Okay, let's dive right in. We're starting with our Goa governance update, with news on policy and legal matters from around the state. First up, our story takes us to Benalium. Chief Minister Pramod Sawan was there for the Rampon Day celebrations. You can see him here with members of the traditional fishing community, the Ramponkars, and he made a pretty significant promise to them about their future. So here's the deal. The Chief Minister has assured the fishermen that they'll get space at the old defunct prawn hatchery. This is huge. They'll be able to use it to park their boats, mend their nets, and even sell their catch. This whole move, announced during the very first Rampon Day, is being touted as a big step towards a self-reliant Goa and a boost for the blue economy. Now, let's move on to a major development from a UNESCO World Heritage Site. A court-ordered inspection of that controversial bungalow in Old Goa has revealed something critical, and it all boils down to the difference between a repair and brand new construction. Okay, so this is the key takeaway here. A report sent to the Supreme Court says the structure wasn't just repaired. The original building was actually demolished and a completely new one was built. Now, why does that matter? Well, because the permission from the Archaeological Survey of India was strictly for repair work. The Old Goa Safe Committee is saying that this proves what they've been arguing all this time. 5,000 crore rupees. Just let that number sink in for a second. That is the staggering estimated value of stressed assets in Goa's mining sector, and it's at the heart of a major appeal to our state's banks. The Goa Chamber of Commerce and Industries, or GCCI, is stepping in. They're asking banks to go easy on about 1,500 borrowers who were hit hard by the mining shutdown. With the sector finally starting to get back on its feet, the GCCI's message is simple. Let's restructure these loans and help people recover instead of using harsh measures. Now, let's shift gears from the state level down to the grassroots. In our Community Voices segment, we're bringing you reports directly from villages across Goa. And we begin with some incredibly sad news out of Santa Cruz, where a very tense Gram Sabha meeting took a tragic turn. The gentleman you see here is Olavio Fernandez, a 70-year-old retired official, and by all accounts, a deeply respected and active member of his community. Mr. Fernandez tragically collapsed from a heart attack right in the middle of a heated debate. He was speaking out against what he called exorbitant flat transfer fees. To make this situation even more heartbreaking, villagers there say that an ambulance took over an hour and a half to arrive.
Just a terrible loss for a man known for his community work.
And the atmosphere at that meeting was already on edge even before the tragedy. Here you can see the local MLA, Rodolfo Fernandez, addressing residents who were there to voice their anger over local tax policies. So, the main issue sparking all this was the high house tax rates. Villagers were demanding a reduction, and their MLA was actually backing them up on it. The meeting, of course, came to an immediate halt after Mr. Fernandez collapsed. But besides the tax issue, residents are also demanding a resurvey of Bonneville Lake and are threatening protests if it's not done.
All right, let's head over to Koval now, where villagers there are raising their voices against a recent change to the Panchayati Raj Bill. They claim it completely upends the power structure in their local government.
So what's the problem? Well, it's an amendment that makes the Panchayat Secretary the only person who can sign off on official matters. Villagers say this completely sidelines their elected leaders, especially the Sarpanch. Their Gram Sabha was united on this. They passed a unanimous resolution asking the government to scrap the amendment. On a separate note, they also asked for a flyover for pedestrian safety.
And now, we'll turn to our crime and safety report for a quick look at recent incidents from across the state. Nearly 4 lakh rupees. That's how much a man from Tivim is out of pocket after falling victim to a pretty clever online scam.
Kovale police have a case on their hands after a Tivim resident was cheated out of 3.95 lakh rupees. The scammer pretended to be a CRPF officer who wanted to rent the victim's flat, then tricked him into using his phone banking app, saying he was sending a security deposit. And believe it or not, the scam alerts continue again from Tivim. In a completely separate incident, another resident was conned out of nearly 1.8 lakh rupees in a different kind of scheme. In this case, a man named Utkarsh Pednekar was offered a business franchise for a logistics company. He ended up losing 1.79 lakh rupees in just a couple of days in late January. The Cole Valley Police are looking into this one as well.
And briefly, some other serious incidents to report. A temple in Anmad Ghat was broken into for the 3rd time in just 6 months. In Vilsal, a tragic road accident claimed the life of 32-year-old Mahavir Ram. And in Sankbali, 25-year-old Manthan Parab died after his motorcycle crashed into a roadside gutter.
And that's all the time we have for this news bulletin. We've covered everything from major state policy all the way down to urgent concerns in our villages. Thank you for watching Goa News Daily. We will continue on the next part.